What's up, duders? Time for your daily dose of internet madness. Have you ever listened to a story and immediately felt that strange pinch between your eyebrows? The one that says, oh no, somebody is about to make a life-altering mistake, and I'm trapped in the passenger seat watching it happen? That's exactly how I felt reading this one. Now, before we dive in, I just want to set expectations. Our protagonist is not evil, just emotionally tone-deaf in some impressively creative ways. The situation involves one best friend, one wife, one terrible assumption, and a very real door closing behind someone at midnight. Now, let's get into it. Am I the butthole for kicking my wife out after what she said about my best friend? Hi everyone. I, 35M, have been with my wife, Jen, 32F, for 6 years, married for 3. We've had the usual ups and downs, but I always thought we were a solid team. My best friend is Mark, 36M. He and I have known each other since we were 11. We grew up in the same street, played on the same baseball team, and we even went to the same college. He's basically my brother, and I mean that in the most literal emotional sense. A few months ago, Mark's mother died suddenly. She wasn't old and it was unexpected. He was absolutely shattered. I tried to be there for him, helping with arrangements, food, cleaning his apartment, all of it. I was spending a lot of nights after work just sitting with him, sometimes in silence, because silence is still better than being alone when grief is that fresh. Jen said she understood at first, but the longer it went on, the more she started making comments. Little things like, you're spending more time with him than with your own wife. I know he's sad, but isn't this a bit much? He needs to pick himself up eventually. I let these slide. Grief makes time weird. I figured she didn't understand because she'd never lost someone close, but things escalated. The night everything changed. One Friday night, I invited Mark over for dinner so he didn't have to spend another night alone. He showed up looking utterly exhausted, hair uncombed, eyes red, just devastated. Jen was polite but stiff. Halfway through dinner, Mark excused himself to the bathroom. The moment he disappeared down the hall, Jen leaned across the table and said, you know, maybe this is good for him. His mom was always coddling him. He needs to grow up. I just froze. I stared at her. I thought maybe I misheard. Nope. She continued, like she was reviewing a film. I mean, if he keeps acting like this, he's never going to hold down a wife or a normal life. He needs to get over it. Now I want to be clear. Mark adored his mother. She basically raised him alone after his dad ran off. That woman worked 2 jobs to make sure he could go to school, play sports, eat real food, all of it. His grief wasn't weakness, it was love in its rawest form. I told Jen quietly, that's really harsh. She shrugged and said, life is harsh. And then, this is what made something in me snap. She added, besides, maybe this is why he never moved on. Maybe his mom was the only woman who ever wanted him. I saw red. Mark came back to the table, totally unaware, and I couldn't stand the idea of finishing dinner sitting across from someone who could say something like that. I asked Jen to step into the hallway. The conversation went like this. Me. That was cruel. Jen. It was honest. Me. He is grieving. Jen. Everyone grieves. He's milking it. I don't even remember the next 30 seconds clearly. All I remember is hearing myself say, if you feel that way, you can leave. Tonight. She looked shocked. She asked if I was serious. I told her yes. She packed a bag while I sat in the living room staring at the floor. Mark eventually realized something was wrong, but I told him I'd explain later. Jen left and stayed at her sister's. Aftermath. The house felt weirdly quiet. I didn't call Jen the next day. I didn't message her. I was still furious. Mark apologized. He actually apologized for causing drama, and that just made me angrier at her. Imagine grieving your mother and still feeling like you should apologize for making people uncomfortable. Over the next week, Jen sent a few texts. We need to talk. You overreacted. Marriage shouldn't end over one sentence. Maybe she's right. Maybe I did overreact. But I've seen people at their worst, and I never expected my wife to be cruel to someone who didn't deserve it. My family is divided. My mom thinks I did the right thing. She loves Mark and knew his mom well. My dad says I made a decision with emotion instead of reason. My sister is Switzerland. So Reddit. Am I the butthole? Okay, time out. Look, I am not here to tell people how to feel about grief or how many casseroles it takes to mend a broken heart, but we gotta acknowledge something. Jen didn't just fail the empathy test. She dug a hole, set it on fire, and threw common human decency into it. Who looks at a man who just lost the only stable parent he ever had and says, essentially, this is good for him? Builds character. Lady, this is not an 80s teen sports movie. Nobody is learning life lessons from their mom's funeral. And then our guy, the OP, actually stands up, sets a boundary, and walks the talk. Which, frankly, is a plot twist I did not see coming. I thought we were headed into So I told her that hurt my feelings, and then we watched Netflix quietly until the credits rolled on our dignity. Nope, he sent her packing. Now, does that mean he handled it perfectly? Not necessarily. If you've ever made a major decision while seeing emotional fireworks in your peripheral vision, you know hindsight always shows up like, "Hi, yes, I would like to speak to you about your impulsive life choices. But motivation matters. And who among us would let someone trash talk the single most meaningful figure in our best friend's life, in the middle of dinner, while the grieving guy is literally in the bathroom washing his hands?" So yeah, let's continue. Update post, 2 weeks later. I wasn't expecting so many responses. It was strangely comforting reading strangers saying the situation was messed up. I spent about a week avoiding any real decisions, went to work, helped Mark arrange a memorial service, tried not to think about the fact that my marriage was on pause like a buffering video. 3 days after the original post, Jen asked to meet in person. We met at a small cafe. She looked tired and emotional, which made me nervous because I thought maybe she'd had some realization. Instead, the conversation went like this. "Jen, I feel like you chose him over me." I said. "This isn't a competition." She said. "I'm your wife. I should be your priority." I told her, "Being a priority doesn't mean I ignore cruelty." She got defensive. She said she was just being honest in a practical way and she was tired of adults treating grief like an excuse to collapse. I told her I wasn't asking her to collapse with him. I was asking her not to kick someone already drowning. And then she dropped this bomb. "Maybe part of the problem is you treating him like he's more important than he is." That stung. I told her that if Mark needed me, I'd show up, because that's what family means. She rolled her eyes, and something inside me quietly clicked into place. For years, Jen had told me she valued compassion, empathy, loyalty, but she didn't show it when it mattered. I told her I wanted a temporary separation, not divorce yet, but space, real space, time to think. She didn't like that, but she agreed eventually and went back to her sisters. Since then, things have been calmer. I've been staying busy, and Mark has been starting therapy and slowly getting back into the world. We watched a baseball game together the other night. For the first time since the funeral, he actually laughed at something. As for Jen, I don't know. I still love her, but I'm not sure I can live with someone who can look at a grieving man and decide to critique his emotional performance like a judge on a talent show. I'll keep trying to figure it out, but right now, I'm choosing to be present for the people who need me, and that includes myself. Well, that was a journey. Let's talk about what really went down here, because beneath the drama, this story is actually about something universal. Everyone eventually discovers who someone is when compassion costs them something. It's easy to be kind when nothing is at stake. It's easy to be supportive when nobody's in pain. It's easy to preach empathy when life is neat and tidy. But when someone's world falls apart, that's the stress test. That's when character stops being a word and becomes a choice. Jen failed that test. Not because she was jealous. Not because she was insecure. But because she acted like grief was a performance to be graded instead of a natural human experience. Meanwhile, our OP, bless his slightly stunned soul, learned something too. Sometimes loyalty isn't about who you choose first, but who you don't abandon. And yeah, he might have acted fast. Yeah, maybe they could have had a calmer discussion before suitcases met door handles. But in the moment, he acted from love, and you can't fake that. Kindness is not measured when things are easy. It's measured when someone else's pain inconveniences you. People reveal who they truly are when empathy becomes effort rather than posture. And if someone insults the memory of a man's mother while he's literally in the bathroom washing his hands, well, sometimes the door closing behind them is simply the world applying punctuation. That's all, folks. Don't forget to update the video. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Doot doot.